So if we've met with clients before who will tell us, hey, all I care about is getting the most income I can out of this, or getting an income is great. I expect my account balance to go to zero, and that's fine. But if we've got a way that we can optimize this and use the tool for what it's intended for, then let's use it. Right. So we've got this index crediting strategy that we can use. And I'll tell you, I would say over 90% of the clients that we work with, they just miss out on this. They don't, prior to coming to us and talking to us, they haven't fully grasped and understood how the index crediting strategies can really assist. And yeah, if that account value hits zero, we're missing out on a couple of things. That's that enhanced income benefit and the potential for liquidity or a death benefit. Um, so a couple of key factors that can really add some value. If you're already buying it, let's use the tools that are there with it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really where it's key to understand is that most of those benefits, like enhanced income benefits, and most of these contracts, and I would say that about 98% of the income annuity marketplace that markets that they offer an enhanced income benefit rider, which is used to help increase the income amount in the event that you have a long-term care benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 98% of the contracts are going to have a fine print clause within those contracts that stipulates that if the account value is depleted to zero, then that enhanced income benefit is null and void. So, in other words, if that account value isn't sustained long term and it runs out of money, while your guaranteed income will continue to pay you because that's in the contract, the enhanced income benefit, which is essentially a multiplier on that original guaranteed amount, in most cases it doubles to help pay any increases in your cost to cover long-term care. That benefit goes away. And what I find, and it's almost embarrassing to say this because it really puts a black eye on our industry, but most annuity advisors or agents out there aren't even aware of that fine print. And
Mm-hmm.
they come into the meetings like talking about this incredible enhanced income benefit and how it's going to double the amount of income if you have long-term care. And they almost like use it as like a Swiss Army knife where they're just pitching it as like a long-term care solution almost in addition to the retirement income. And in 98% of the products, that's never going to happen. That's never going to be available. But there are a few, if you're working with an expert, they can show you and educate you on which ones have a contractual guarantee on that benefit. But we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. But in this segment, the index crediting potential is essential to helping you secure that enhanced income benefit long term. Long term, most people are going to need long term care in their latter years of their retirement, and in a lot of the annuities that have this benefit, the index crediting potential is so lackluster that the probability of that account value being above zero and at the age that they need it the most, it's very unlikely. The probability is very unlikely that it'll ever be available. So it's definitely something that you want to be aware of. In addition to that, when you add in an income rider fees that are also eating your account value, it puts you in a vulnerable state that income benefit for the long-term care is not going to be there.
Right. So you've got the income being deducted from your account value. You've also got that income rider coming from the account value. So, yeah, how do we sustain that account for a longer period of time? And that's through the index performance. But I think as a brief overview, just seeing some of these numbers on the screen, if we look at that returns column, pretty tough to maintain an account balance with potential returns like this.
Absolutely. And if you look at this, what our software here is doing right now is taking a look at every available index crediting strategy in this American Equity Income Shield 10. And then it's using a back test to identify the annualized rate of return when factoring in the participation rate or the cap or whatever the type of strategy it is. But you'll see these returns are, for the most part, pretty lackluster. There's one that looks pretty decent here, but I wouldn't write home that one's probably going to ever do that. one of the things that I'm very proud of in our firm is that we're experts on these indexes. And that BlackRock Adaptive, first off, it's a pretty fairly new index, and second, it's probably never going to do that return. And we will look at the analysis though to help you evaluate it to make sure that that's a true testimony that what we're saying is right. But we never just use the back test to determine which annuity we want to work with. We also look at the real time performance of these index strategies to make a better decision. But yeah, if we were to illustrate this out, and let's see where we are in our segment, but if we were to illustrate that out, what do we got? Section 6 there. Okay, so we'll illustrate
Yeah.
it out in a upcoming segment here in just a moment to kind of show you like how one may deplete, the account value may deplete sooner than later versus the next. I think that'd be a pretty good exercise.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So
What else do we got there?
next segment we're moving on to is the income rider fee, right? So we've talked about how that account value can be depleted from taking the income, but also that income rider fee. And really looking at that fee, generally we're seeing those fees range between 0.85 to 1.5%, somewhere right around 1 to 1.5%, really. And when we're analyzing that, we're seeing that that's coming out of the account value. So how important is that to the individual or the couple? How important is that to them in sustaining that account balance? Again, going back to how this can affect the account balance, how important is that to them in maintaining it?
Yeah, let me get the window up here for the rider. And we'll take a look at that using our handy dandy American Equity, our friends over there at American Equity. We love
They're going to love us.
them. All right. So we have back up our calculator here, looking at the American Equity Income Shield just as a guinea pig example. And we'll notice that the income rider fee in this case is 1.1% annually charged deducted out of the account value. So when you look at this fee range and how it stacks up in the range, it's kind of in the middle of the road, maybe towards the lower end of the scale, which is good. You want to find if it's important to you that you have longer term sustainment of the account value. There's two things primarily that go into that equation, and that is how big is the income rider fee? How much is it, dragging down the account value?